Greetings. It's your text-to-speech psychopathic dad again. This is a follow-up video to my first video about Robin. If you haven't seen that video, a card will show up on screen right now. I recommend watching it first before seeing this follow-up. The previous video is critical for understanding the situation fully. For this video, Kite is going to be joining us. They made their own version of this video over on their channel. The link will be below in the description.
Hello there, you big fat simps.
Recently, a new piece of information has surfaced and changed my perception. This breaking news is what I wanted to share with all of you. If you're a supporter, then you've definitely seen me discussing this in the supports Discord channel. Here's the tea. Kite contacted Robin to ask them more questions. In this communication attempt, Robin actually called their father to ask for a document that shows proof of their psychologist speculating that they had borderline personality disorder. Rather than acting confused, the father pointed to this document being online. This means that without a doubt, Robin's psychologist does think that they may have borderline personality disorder. I did some research about borderline personality disorder, now that I know that I should be taking it seriously. It was hard to take anything seriously, because of how often the things they said turned out to be lies, or attempts at making people do something they want. I'm ready to talk to you all about what this means. The point of this video is understanding Robin, correcting my previous video, and giving all of you some new advice and a fresher perspective. Have fun, kiddies. But before I really get into it, I just want to say one thing. Something that bothers me a lot is that Robin acts like this is an actual diagnosis when it isn't. It's important when communicating with people to make it clear that this is an assumption by the psychologist, not a literal diagnosis. It isn't okay to say, "I'm diagnosed with" in this case. Assuming that just because the psychologist thinks you have something, you're diagnosed with it, is still a form of self-diagnosis. Kite talked about why self-diagnosis isn't okay, and I'll link to their video in the card that should flash on screen right now, so that you can see why this is actually so important. While I am not treating this the same as a completed diagnosis, it is completely and entirely valid as a guess, or a suggestion of what might be wrong. How does borderline personality disorder affect Robin's behavior? Why does it matter, and what can it make someone act like? This part is my speculation for why Robin acts the way they do. Borderline personality disorder is a mental health disorder that impacts the way you think and feel about yourself and others, causing problems functioning in everyday life. People who have this personality disorder may have an intense fear of abandonment or instability, and can have difficulty tolerating being alone. They may display inappropriate anger, impulsiveness, and frequent mood swings may push others away, even though they want to have loving and lasting relationships. They may engage in very impulsive and relationship-destroying behavior. This really sounds like Robin, doesn't it? People who have this disorder are often on the borderline, or feeling very unstable, and always on the edge of a meltdown, especially if they think they are about to be left alone or abandoned. They may sometimes do dramatic, destructive, and dangerous things to keep people close to them. What does this make you think of? I personally think of the unalive attempts and crazy live streams. Robin may be doing these things to get people to stay close, to give them attention and support at any cost. People are scared to leave Robin because no one can predict how they will react. Let's take a look at some of the other symptoms of BPD.
That also might be why Robin lies about so many things and cannot just admit to the truth. Robin is terrified that this would cause people to completely abandon them. If they admit to their wrongdoings, people will see the truth, so it's better to just lie and cover it up and hide everything, when it's not like that at all. As well as insecurities about people seeing Robin in this horrible way or wanting to leave Robin. We also hear from Robin's friends about how insecure Robin is, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think that maybe Robin has a lot of insecurities about themselves.
An intense fear of abandonment, even going to extreme measures to avoid real or imagined separation or rejection. This can be seen very frequently with Robin because of how intense their reaction is to any disagreement or any perceived attack. Robin will take almost anything too far because of how strongly they fear being abandoned, disliked, or attacked. This isn't done on purpose, of course. They react this way because the fear is nearly overwhelming and they aren't able to control their impulse to act out because of it.
Robin many times goes from saying they're about to kill themselves to coming back to the server and making jokes, their mood is definitely not stable is what I'm saying.
The pattern of unstable, intense relationships, such as idealizing someone one moment and then suddenly believing the person doesn't care enough or is cruel. Robin constantly attacks the people around them by saying things like, "You don't care," often hoping that this will make that person try to show more care towards them. Or, Robin might also say this because they genuinely feel like the person doesn't care. What's important to note is that this is entirely inside of Robin's own mind. People can be acting completely normal, or how they usually act, and Robin will interpret it to mean they hate them.
The pattern of unstable relationships is also taking a toll. More and more people who are very close to Robin are starting to admit in private DMs to many different people that they don't want anything to do with Robin anymore. Or that they feel used, abused, and like their feelings don't matter. Maybe that's not true, but because of how intense the relationships are between Robin and them, it puts a lot of strain on them.
Rapid changes in self-identity and self-image that include shifting goals and values, and seeing yourself as bad, or as if you don't exist at all. Robin went from calling out people's behavior to comparing themselves to Birdie. This is kind of obviously a huge change of self-interpretation. Periods of stress-related paranoia and loss of contact with reality, lasting from a few minutes to a few hours. Robin might disconnect with reality when they feel really bad and act in ways people might not understand. Because of that disconnect with reality, Robin might consider very problematic or dangerous opinions to be valid for the length of this mental episode. Their opinion that they have schizoaffective disorder could come from these disturbances with reality if they aren't really diagnosed. Suicidal threats or behavior or self-injury, often in response to fear of separation or rejection. Wide mood swings lasting from a few hours to a few days, which can include intense happiness, irritability, shame or anxiety. Ongoing feelings of emptiness. Self-explanatory. Inappropriate, intense anger, such as frequently losing your temper, being sarcastic or bitter, or having physical fights. This is very visible in how Robin communicated with people on social media. All it takes is just looking at their Twitter, or at how they comment about people in videos. According to Robin, they are in therapy and getting help for this condition. And in response to that, I have to seriously give credit where credit is due, and shout out just how proud I am of them. When you have a serious issue like this and your behavior is hurting others this much, then talking to a professional is the only and best thing that you can do. Managing your symptoms is key. I do have to say, I really wish Robin would have gotten more creative right at the start of this whole mess, and just gotten some kind of proof that they had BPD, like that phone call. But I have to let bygones be bygones. What matters is now we have this proof, so we can adjust our own perception accordingly. Robin is very young, and I hope that going forward, they understand how important proof is. So many people fake and lie online, so any degree of proof is absolutely critical if you want people to take you seriously. But I do have to mention that it is important to blur out personal information, and as much identifying information as possible, if you do want to show someone proof of a diagnosis. Remember that, kiddies. Borderline personality is something that tends to get better with age. As long as Robin is aware and does genuinely take all of this to heart, I have faith that they will drastically improve and learn more about themselves and others. How can we help? Is it okay to be friends with Robin? The first step is educating yourself about BPD. That's why Robin should have given us this proof from the start, because anyone near them should have then immediately gone and done research about the disorder and how they can understand their behavior. This is where I want everyone listening to understand something important. My first video was not intended to be mean-spirited, it was supposed to be a breakdown of Robin's behaviors. Some people, however, took it to mean that they should hate Robin. I get that. While I can't control how you feel, I can tell you this. Sometimes, people with BPD engage in behaviors that can seem manipulative, mean-spirited, or destructive. But that doesn't make people with BPD bad people. Understanding that these behaviors are not intended to harm you may help you build more empathy for your friend so you can better support them. In fact, people with BPD who have support and stability in their personal life often see improvement in their symptoms sooner than those who lack support. Here's a few quick things you can do in order to actually help Robin improve. Number 1. Support their efforts to get professional help. This may mean telling your friend that you are proud of them for asking for help, or that you think seeking help is a courageous choice. Or it may mean offering rides to appointments, or making an effort to visit if they are in the hospital. Whatever you do, it will mean a lot to your friend to know you're behind them. Number 2. Validate their experiences without encouraging bad thoughts and behaviors. The most important thing you can do to help a friend with BPD is to just listen and validate their feelings. Understand that strong emotional reactions are part of the disorder. You may not necessarily agree with their evaluation of a situation or feel that the intensity of their feelings is justified, but you can still listen and acknowledge the difficulty of the feelings they are experiencing. Don't just shut them down and tell them they're wrong if they think someone hates them. Let them know that you understand they probably feel very bad and that their reaction is valid. Then, try to explain to them that they might be seeing things a little too negatively and that you're sure the person doesn't actually hate them. Actually, this is a good time to include this: Robin, I don't hate you, in case you thought that I did. Actually, I'm not really capable of feeling hate for anyone. I'm proud of you for getting help when you actually are in contact with professionals, and I would even go as far as to say that it would be pretty neat to talk to you. Number 3. Don't ignore threats of harm. This is the biggest change to my opinion. Suicidal threats and gestures are common in people with BPD. Some people with BPD will make multiple suicidal threats, which can lead their family and friends to become desensitized to this kind of behavior. Like most of Robin's audiences, I really wish that Robin would have shown this proof of borderline much sooner. Amidst so many of their lies, it was very, very hard to take anything they said with even a grain of truth. People with BPD are at very high risk of attempting and completing suicide. 75% of those with BPD will attempt suicide at least once during their lifetime. Studies have also shown that between 3% and 10% of people with BPD die by suicide. This means that even though their live stream attempts were dubious, they are already showing behavior that glorifies suicide, which they do genuinely mean. I can say that for sure, now that I know that a professional actually thinks they do have borderline. We ought to do everything in our power to locate them and contact emergency services whenever they make these threats, just in case. I'm not saying to dox them, of course. I'm also not saying the attempt should be taken lightly or that victims should never be believed. I am saying though that it isn't that uncommon to see people faking things for attention, and it was hard to understand why Robin would be alright with showing methods and traumatizing people just for something like that. It looked like a Hallmark case of someone being dramatic online. But now with this new evidence, I believe their need is more complicated than that. When Robin is doing something dangerous though, we need to also consider the other people who have mental disorders that can see what they are doing. Report all of their live streams and their accounts if they are not in the right state of mind to be online. This is both for their own safety, since trolls tend to write very stupid messages on their streams, and for the safety of disordered people watching them. Number 4. Take care of yourself too. Sometimes friendships with people who have BPD become unbalanced, and you may find yourself giving more than you receive. If this happens only occasionally, it is usually fine. Most relationships ebb and flow. They can't always be an even 50-50 split. But if you find yourself in a perpetually unbalanced and difficult situation, it will create a strain in the relationship. Research has shown that friends and family that care for people with BPD have high rates of hostility, anxiety, depression, and distrust. If you give too much, you may start to feel resentful or burned out. After a while, you may get to the point that you feel the need to end the relationship for your own health and happiness. This is fine, of course. Not everyone can tolerate that kind of relationship, and they can't be blamed for it. In the long term, however, it is more helpful for a person with BPD to have a consistent, reliable friend than to have a friend who was 100% there for them for a few months before disappearing forever. For this reason, it is important for you to take care of yourself, take breaks from your friend when needed, and create healthy boundaries so that you get your needs fulfilled too. We need to be aware that Robin's behavior is neurodivergent and isn't going to be predictable, but now let me lay out the boundary for you. Once someone with a mental disorder is traumatizing other people, they do still need to take responsibility for their behavior. Mental health is not an excuse for behavior that hurts people. Robin, you still have to understand that just because you feel absolutely awful, it's not okay to pass that trauma on to others. I understand that you might not be fully in control, but the other people that this has hurt matter too. It's a balance. It's a balance, or even a war, between someone as the person that they are and their disorder. Please don't feel discouraged. I know that you can do better, because everyone can always improve and grow, especially someone as young as you are. I know very well what it's like to give into mental illness. I think I may even do so on a daily basis without realizing it. It's friendly to you, it's familiar, it's something always there with you no matter what, and it becomes almost too comforting. But it can't be an excuse for treating others badly. It's just not. People are deserving of respect, and if you can't give that to them, then let them go or walk away. There's an amazing show called BoJack Horseman. There is a scene in season 3 where BoJack Horseman's best friend, Todd, becomes increasingly frustrated with BoJack, a literal horse, after he repeatedly uses his clinical depression as an excuse for treating Todd and others like garbage. And that's what I'm going to leave this video off with. Enjoy.
Todd, I'm sorry, all right? I screwed up. I know I screwed up. I don't know why.
Oh, great. Of course. Here it comes. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing shitty things and then feel bad about yourself like that makes it okay. You need to be better.
I know, and I'm sorry, okay? I was drunk, and there was all this pressure with the Oscar campaign. But now that it's over, I
No, BoJack, just stop. You are all the things that are wrong with you. It's not the alcohol or the drugs or any of the shitty things that happened to you in your career or when you were a kid. It's you. All right? It's you. Fuck, man. What else is there to say?